Bears got the best of me. Said bears on my fantasy. Said bears ain't what I like. We do it all night, all right. Bears that don't discriminate. I take a carbon chop to circumnavigate. Steal my heart and let it percolate all night, all right. Bears got the best of me. Said bears on my fantasy. Said bears ain't what I like. We do it all night, all right. Bears.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Bears of a Certain Age. Jonny and I are here, as always, every Wednesday to kind of bring you up to date on what's happening in the bear community and have a little fun. And we have a special bear joining us today. We have the one and only Mr. Billy Clift as our special guest for the entire episode today. Billy, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for asking me to be on your new show. I mean, how exciting. I love being, the fresh new starlet.
You're an ingenue.
Yes, the ingenue.
Exactly. We're just lucky to have you in front of the camera. You're always so busy behind the camera doing all your directing and editing and producing. Such great shows over there. Hush Up Sweet Charlotte and, of course, Baby Jane and all your recent web series. You've worked with all of my friends, Terry Ray and My Sister's So Gay, Lonnie Anderson you've directed. I mean, you've been with anybody who's anybody, both gay and straight, my friend.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm working my ass off to try to, it was wonderful because I was at a film festival this weekend, and one of my films is a short film, a 20-minute short film called Lena's Dance, and that's starring Dee Wallace, and it was just wonderful to work with Dee.
Yes.
And she played a 98-year-old woman who they aged her because she's not 98.
No.
She's completely vivacious and young. But oh my God, she was just stunning in this little film. And it was so exciting to see it again on the big screen, and the people loved it there. So it was really lovely to see that.
Isn't she the sweetest person in the entire world?
Oh, she's a doll. She's so lovely, and she needs personally. I know. I just feel like I want to come up with something that's a feature that really, really lets her be, because she needs something like that. She has the talent, but it hasn't been there to show her at her age now. Right. I would really like to think of something that I could put her in or create for her so that she could just really sink into it. I mean, and really show the world what she still has. Right.
Well, if anybody can do it, it can be you. I was reading a quote about you when I was reading things online, that you are known as the busiest man in Hollywood. And you've been known to have like 5 to 10 projects that you're juggling, and obviously finishing with so many that show up in film festivals. How do you do that many projects at one time?
I just, I don't say no is my problem, but also, as I tell people, is that I don't know how long I can keep the stamina going. Yeah. So while I have this energy, I'm going to do it. And I just I do get overwhelmed. I must admit, I do get overwhelmed. But what I do, and I bring myself back to, is I do what's in front of me. And that keeps me sane, because I am able to do that, But every once in a while, I'm like going, and I have a little cocktail,
Exactly.
We all need to have a little joy juice from time to time, right?
Little just to calm me down and go, Billy, it's going to be fine. And don't think about it right now. You can think about it in the morning, because, and like right now, tomorrow morning, I have to finish up Silver Lake season 2. And that the third episode it's the 4th episode. It's only 4 episodes. It has to be done by Friday. And I have about a quarter of it done. And then I have to go straight into the lair. Yeah. And finish that. Then I have a documentary and a trailer. Anyway, and I'm in post production of a pre-production, excuse me, of another feature that I want to do in the fall. Sometime. I don't know where that goes. And then, of course, Here We Are, which is a movie that I did with Sally Kirkland and a whole bunch of Mel England and Will Jackson, and a wonderful, wonderful film about racism in the gay community. And that is not completely done, but yet it's opening Cinema Diverse opening night as their big show, and I have not finished it. So there.
So you have a few endless nights ahead of you.
Yes,
Exactly.
I do. I know what I'm going to do. Everything's written down. I know exactly where I'm going. So I'm dreaming that it's only going to take a week.
Well, just working with those actors, I mean, Mel is such a good friend of mine, and Sally's such a great performer and so good to the community always. And you got a lot to work with, I'm sure, because they
Oh,
give you
I do. It's and
both
she's
amazing actors.
unbelievable in this. She really is. I mean, it's a very deep role for her. So it's going to be very exciting to have people. You haven't seen her like this in a long, long time because
Nice.
it's real. It's a really deep role. Everybody in this film, it's a lot. It's a heavy piece, which I love to do. I love to do my comedies and crazy and fun, but I also like to show people that I can do that side as well. I mean, in San Francisco, I just showed Jacked actually for the first time. Jacked is a featurette really because it's an hour and like 10 minutes. And it never went into the festivals because it just went straight into streaming, and it does really well. I've gotten amazing feedback, but there's nothing like sitting in a theater and being able to hear people experience it along with it. And finally got to do that this weekend, and I was really blown away on how they were affected.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, what draws you to a project? Like you said, it's all over, but.
Yeah, it is all over the place because I love to do comedy. I love to do, but I've also done a reality show. I did a show called Food Fetish, which you can find on Here TV as well, and lots of other places. I did a show called Behind the Bar, which is just cute, hot bartenders making drinks, you know. And my food fetish, of course, is really amazing. Important Los Angeles chefs showing us how to make amazing food. And I love food. I'm sorry, I do. I'm sure we all do. And so, and I got to hang out with some chefs that I always admired. And that was really, really exciting.
That was one of the first things I started Left to Straight was about entertainment, foodies, and books because I am such a foodie. The LA food scene is just such a remarkable scene to begin between there and New York, even Chicago nowadays. Chicago's really good food outside.
And San Francisco and Seattle and
Love those things. You mentioned Here TV. I mean, I know you with David Milburn. You guys have had this partnership forever, doing all these great things for Here TV. Talk about working with them. I mean, you were just award-winning for Advocate, 50 years of the Advocate, Long Journey Home. That was such a beautiful documentary. I remember talking to you back in the day where my first time learning of the Black Cat, and that it was pre-Stonewall. Talk about the things you've done working with Here TV and how it is working with David.
Yeah, the first thing that I did was Hush Up Sweet Charlotte with David. And that I brought to them. And first we just became friends. We went to a movie. I was at a movie theater with Jason Stewart. I went to a movie with him, and David Milburn sat down next to Jason and introduced us. So we can say that it's all because of Jason Stewart. And we just kind of hit it off. And you know, I didn't do anything but just invite him to parties and things that I was having. And then through people, he heard what I did, and he said, "Let me look at some of your stuff." And Charlotte was the first thing they grabbed, and it did sell at Sundance that year, which was, I believe, 2016 or 2017. And that was pretty amazing, and it won awards for what it is, which is a completely ridiculous farce with Mink Stoll and Varla Jean Merman, Matthew Martin, and Raja, a bunch of drag race stars as well. It's and I had so much fun doing that, and then from then it just kept on going. And I'm still doing it. And they're not the only company I work for, but they definitely keep me busy. My project Here We Are is not with them, and I have a couple of other things that's not with them. But it's all great and exciting. Of course, Not So Straight and Silver Lake is with them. The Lair Hollywood is, of course, a reboot of The Lair that was so popular, I believe, in about 2015. Am I correct? I'm not quite sure what year it first came out.
You're right on, yeah.
Yeah, and it went for 3 years. And what was great is they gave it to me. They said, Billy, do you want to do this? And it really was just like, do you want to do it? I went, yeah, I want to do it. Yeah. And I said, okay, give me the boundaries. I said, there are none. You do whatever you want to do. And I said, so I don't want to have anything to do with the original series. I want to create my own rules, because you have to create rules in a world like this. Okay. And I want to come up with something different and fresh, but still homage. I took a lot of homage to True Blood, the newest Interview with a Vampire, and a little bit from the original, as far as it's very sexy. There are a lot of pretty boys in this show.
Well,
and they show some booty.
Oh, go ahead, Jonny.
What's it like? Like, you create so much of your own stuff. What's it like for a company to go, hey, we know this wasn't yours originally. What is it hard? They just give it to you and you have to find your creativity within this new world. How hard is that? Or do you just
that actually was a challenge for me, to do The Lair. Even though I do love that genre, I eat it up. I totally eat it up. And that's why I said yes so easily. Mind you, I say yes a lot because I like to challenge myself. I really do. I want to try everything and find out what I love most. And what I've realized is I like it all. So, I mean, the one that I'm putting together right now is a musical.
Oh, nice.
And it's something that I've dreamed of doing. And it's kind of a dark musical comedy based loosely on Doris Day and Rock Hudson, and it all takes place in 1967, called Pretty Talk. And I'm very, very excited about it. The music is being written right now, and so that's all under the covers right now. But that's
going to be amazing.
I'm very excited.
Jonny follows you or stalks you on social media as I do. And we have a lot of mutual friends that have shared I see the pictures in your social media because we've been friends a long time. I've had friends that have been invited to these parties of Billy. But Jonny, you can see this is Billy's house behind him. And you filmed a lot of the Lair there. You have the most interesting, eclectic furniture that I've ever seen, and I am in love with your house, my friend.
Well, thank you. I did redo it. I did redo it for The Lair. If you look at the darkness and the lead, he's 600 years old, and the last time he was awake was in the 20s. So he totally fell in love with the 20s. So I mean, I have the old gramophone. I have got so that. When he came to his place in Los Angeles, and what happened is that all the vampires had been obliterated by the werewolves. And so he was woken up by the ancient ones to come back to Los Angeles and repopulate and get rid of the werewolves. So I knew that he had to come here and feel like it was home to him. And I did a really, really fun thing because I was like, okay, I'd have to get rid of everything. And so I went, no, I know what I'm going to do is I'm going to have an old lady who lives here. She's made it all look like this. She was an old actress, right? Yeah. And so the Renfield character, which I wanted some homage to original Bram Stoker ideas is that I do have a Renfield who is a real estate agent who goes and gets a house for him, and this old woman owns this house with a long cigarette holder and the whole thing. She's got the bowed lips and everything. She's stuck, and she signs the paper and she drops dead, and then he just moves in so that everything looks the same as that she's already created it. And that way I kind of got around like it already being populated like that,
Now,
but it was fun to do my house like that, and I love it. Like seriously, all the walls were white before this.
Wow.
The ceiling wasn't painted, and it took me about 3 months to make it look like the lair. And the amount of money it would have cost me to rent a house that looked the way I wanted it to look was far beyond my capacity. But I could do this myself.
Wow. Now,
and my poor husband, my poor boyfriend, oh my God, he has to put up with all this.
Was there any trepidation when someone says a reboot that could come with some pressure? Or was there any trepidation in the beginning when you thought, oh, I have to reboot this thing that a lot of gays in the day loved this show?
They did. And, I feel that as long as I keep it sexy, and I really do believe that that's probably what they like the most is naked boys.
I mean.
You know what I mean? I mean, come on.
Timeless.
So I figured if I could give them naked boys, which I hired porn stars so that they felt comfortable. People like Andy Clements is the head of the werewolves. No, he's not the head of the werewolves. Excuse me. He's the head of a whole clan that want to become a vampire. Excuse me. Wow. I have a wonderful Ernest Pierce is the head of the werewolves, and he lives in a beautiful big modern mansion. So we have a complete opposite of that. Nice. So that's going to have this whole like, piano music, but this is going to be like old Victrola scratchy music. And then of course when he's out in WeHo, because I have all this footage of him out in WeHo, which I gorillaed very much and nobody knows. It's all going to be very kind of 1990s, 1980s, kind of grungy, gay, because I have a wonderful gay artist who wrote it all. And so it's going to be very, when he's out, like stalking boys,
I mean, we've all
been
been
really
there.
fun. And it's very self-aware, which I don't know whether the original series was, but this is very self-aware. It knows it's silly, but
I think that's your signature. I think you really do bring that self-awareness to a lot of your pictures.
I try to. I really, really do. I mean, my deep stuff is different. It was really, as I said before, seeing Jacked on the big screen was amazing. To see this very sad story about a young boy coming to Hollywood, hoping to make it, living with an older gentleman who says that this is perfect and he says he can help him out. Eventually, what comes in is some undesirables, so to speak, who start taking advantage of him and actually drugging him and filming him as they're having sex with him. He sees what's happening. He runs out, but he becomes homeless, drug addicted, and everything is stolen from him, and he ends up with nothing. But thank goodness, and this is a true story, the LGBT Center, they have it all set up where they came and they picked him up, and the real person, Nathan Bates, became came back to reality through all of it. In the movie, it only takes, I would say, about a month and a half, but in reality, it took Nathan probably about a year and a half.
Wow.
But it's a really, it takes you in a lot of emotional places because he had conversion therapy. They were extremely, it was Mormon, it was that whole thing. And you see all this in flashbacks of what they did to him. And I just want to make statements about that too. I want to, just like I did with A Long Road to Freedom, The Advocate celebrates 50 years. I wanted to make sure when I made that film that I put things in that a lot of people might not know, especially around Los Angeles, because a lot of things, they don't talk about what happened in Los Angeles, just like in San Francisco and New York. I just wanted to kind of focus a little bit more, even though I put everything else in as well. But I wanted to make sure they knew something about, like the black cat that you were talking about. I mean, no one knew that there was 300 people at a protest in 1967, gay people protesting against the police and what they were doing to the gays in this neighborhood of Silver Lake, which is where I live. And that was where it all spawned. And the reason why The Advocate even came and connected, because I was shooting it before they even came on board, is that but The Advocate came out of that particular protest because nobody had done anything on it, and they realized we don't have a newspaper.
Yeah.
So they came up with The Advocate.
That's so crazy.
Do me a favor, Billy. Talk about your casting, because one of the things I like about you so much is you pick the perfect actors in look and talent with all of your films, and they're so diverse. I mean, there's a lot of directors that bring the same cast with them to film to film. You find the perfect people for the perfect role. We talked about Emrys Cooper later doing Lair, looks the part. Mel England has just that gravitas to his acting. He knows how to really pull a performance. Talk about your casting. What makes your eye so good on these people?
Well, thank you. That's very sweet of you. I mean, I've been in this industry all my life, really. You know, I was a hair and makeup artist starting at 20 years old in the film industry, and I really became. I watched, I knew what I thought was good. It's my own opinion, but this is what I saw. First, when I got out of high school at Hollywood High School, I was in the drama department. I did every show imaginable. Started modeling directly out of that, and then when I was 20 years old, I decided to go to hair school. About a year and a half later, I was working at the most expensive hair salon in Beverly Hills, and then soon after, I got my first celebrity, which was Elizabeth Montgomery. And it just piled on top of that. The most amazing human being you could ever possibly imagine knowing. It was an honor and a privilege, and it made me a better human being knowing her. To this day, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her and think I wish she was here. Oh, I wish I could tell her about this. She would have been so delighted. And I think it was just because I learned from people like that. And I saw talent. Mel, though, I have used quite a few times because he's an incredibly good chameleon. He plays a guy from Texas with a little drawl, and he's just kind of like that guy that we all know in a gay bar that's just a little overly tattooed, but he might not be dressed really well, but he looks like this old dude that you've seen a million times with a little bit of a mullet, that kind of a thing, in the handlebar, which we all love,
Yes.
And then he was in No Goodbyes, and my No Goodbyes is about a young boy who's in the Holocaust, a young Jewish boy, and the other guy who's Jewish as well takes him under his wing and makes sure that he's safe. And it's a true story. I took two true stories and put it together. And I do want to turn that into a feature film eventually. Again, a very, very sad, harsh movie, but so important. I feel like it's so important for me to put things out there that people don't know about to the best. I mean, people who saw that movie, and it ended up in a lot of straight film festivals, which was very important. It's what I wanted. Is they never knew that this happened. They never knew things like that. They didn't hear about the gay people. And this little kid, the things that they did, the feature will show the atrocities, because the gays in the camps were considered worse than the Jews. They were the lowest, as I see, and I was fortunate to have an actual Holocaust survivor in the film be that person, pretend to be that young boy, old. At 82 years old, this gentleman was, and he talks about what it was like in the camp. So he acted as if he was that man, and how honored to have that, because he read it and he went, I know this story.
Yeah.
And it has to be told.
I think someone just has to look at your filmography. I mean, plus you do cinematography, you write, you direct, you just do it all. You could just have your own one-stop shop. But one of the things that is obvious is you have a passion for storytelling. You love to pass on the stories, and that's whether it's documentary film style, whether it's drama, whether it's comedy. Where does that? I mean, it comes out of your eyes. I mean, you sparkle when you talk about the stories that you want to tell. Where does that come from?
That's a hard, I just get so passionate about telling people about things, you know? And I get passionate about, even if it's stupid, like Hush Up Sweet Charlotte or Baby Jane. And I really need to do something like that again, you know? I need something silly and stupid. Now, mind you, I think The Lair is going to kind of be in that range. It has a little bit of that. And when I was working on it, there was a similarity. But there was, you know, I always get, of course, just like anybody who does this kind of stuff goes, oh my God, am I screwing this up? You know, I hope this is working, you know, and then you start looking at the footage and you're like, oh, okay. But you're still not really going to know until you know, you start editing. But thank goodness I do have a good enough, I have a good enough idea to like, all right, if it's not working, then I know how to fix it. I know how to like, all I need is a little bit more footage. All right, I'll pull Emrys in and I'm going to have you say something. You know what I mean? And I have to do that sometimes. You know, it's like, all right, there's a hole. There's a hole here. Let's fix it. And I can. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I'm passionate about it. I feel
We're
fortunate that I have it. Pardon?
I can't let you brush over Elizabeth Montgomery because we've talked about her before, you and I, on Left of Straight show, and that's a little younger demographic than this show. We are bears of a certain age, of course, so we all remember Bewitched like it was part of our childhood. We had Uncle Arthur. We had our first kind of gay character we saw there, and she was just such a gorgeous person inside and out and such an ally. Talk to her about her allyship and just what she was as a person, though.
Well, I mean, all her friends were gay. She had, she's like so many celebrities, they have very few people that are actually their friends, right? You have enough to sit around a table. Basically, that's it. And one of the couples was a straight couple. And her husband was straight. There you go. But the rest, they were gay. Because she loved the creativity, she loved the humor, she loved the ability that we can have fun, but yet we can be serious. She just loved the balance that we brought into an experience. What was so funny, you know, going back to that, is that she never knew that I was as young as I was when I met her. I always looked so much older than I did. I was only like 22 years old when I started doing her hair and makeup, you know, and but I think she thought I was around 28 or 29, maybe even 30, you know, because, you know, who would go, yeah, that's good. You're like 5 years old, you know, but I thought about that recently. That's why I brought it up. She was just, as I said, the way she viewed the world, she was truly an anti-mame style of character. She was incredible giving. There wasn't like, I saw her probably 3 times a week. 2 of those times would be to do her hair and makeup for her to leave the house for an event. Or even if she knew she was going to a really good restaurant where there were paparazzis. Because there was one time that she was on the cover of the Inquirer and they all said that she looked fat and dowdy. And I got a, you know, and it was just a weird, you know how they can catch you like with a weird, like what,
Yeah.
you know, a weird turn and everything like that. And she said, Billy, I can't go anywhere now without you doing me, you know, unless it's just going and hanging out with some friends or something at someone's home. But I had to be glued to her hip for that. And then we went out to dinner once a week to different restaurants in Los Angeles, you know, and we did quite a few TV movies together, including the last one she ever did when she became very, very ill. which we didn't even know, and she didn't know what was wrong with her. And the doctor who came to the set said that she just had some bottom problems. That it would be all fine at, after the film, she needed some rest and she'd be fine. But no, she ended up like 3 days after we were filming, she ended up in the hospital, and she didn't come out until she was coming home to die.
Wow. All of us young gays need someone as fabulous as her. You know what I mean? To be so
What
young.
do they have today? I don't know.
We needed to believe in the magic. I mean, the magic was there and everything. It was just the whole package. It was part of.
She really was honestly magical in the way as a human being, and that's what was so cool too. And something I never told her either. I never told her was that I was obsessed with her when I was a little kid. I had a cat named Samantha. And I was tiny. I was just a little kid, and I would hold its little head. And you've got to watch this show, Samantha. And I would hold it the entire show till it finally gave up, and it's just like this, And then I can let it go. Okay, you can leave now. The show's over. But I was obsessed with her, and I know that other had the same obsession. And I thought she really was my mother. I really was like, that's my mom. And the difference between I and the masses of others is she did become my best friend. And I felt so honored and totally freaked out by that in a lot of ways. I never told her about that, though, because that's weird. She gets that enough. She got that enough from everybody who came up to her. Believe you me. I remember one day I had a picture of her and I said, "Would you mind signing it?" She said, "Why? You see me every day. What do you want to autograph of me?" And so I do have an autograph on my arm of her. I had from an old check. I took it in, and I had her signature put on my arm.
Wow.
As a memory and just an honoring of who she was. I don't know why it was very important to me to do that.
That's amazing.
And it just feels like she's always with me.
Well, and I also think that you got a pure connection to someone as a human being. And so the admiration of a celebrity kind of puts a wall with that. You got the real thing.
I did. I feel very, very fortunate because, as I said, there was 10 people that really got through the door, and so to speak. I felt very fortunate to be let through that door.
That's amazing. We should all be so lucky to have someone like that for that
Well,
connection.
at least she was all in our lives, and we got to kind of get a glimmer of that no matter where you were. I speak they have Bewitched conventions, and I go and I speak at those conventions. The first night is all about her, and then it goes into Bewitched for the other nights. And I feel so fortunate to get to know some of these people who also felt so drawn towards her, and it's really, really lovely. And they have people there like writers from the show and from Bewitched and all that kind of stuff. And so it's wonderful to sit down and talk to them. And I had written a script, which I really do hope that one day it'll come back around. I'd written a script in the style of the Brady Bunch movie that they did. I did the same thing with Bewitched because we don't need that movie they did on her, right? We don't need that. Let's just wipe that out.
Yeah.
What we want is an homage. We want that parody homage to what they did with the Brady Bunch movie, where you're feeling like you're actually watching the original show with a nod and a wink.
Exactly.
And that's what I want to do. Yeah. That is one of my goals, is to create that film. And I think that it would do really, really well. Even if I think that it would even do well with youth, just because of the humorous and the fun out of it, Well, I don't even think Bewitched did badly as far as financially, but It was just a tragic film.
Well,
Well,
our
look
good
at the
friend
kids
Shane
with
Zimmerman wrote the Barry Brady movies, so we should
Yeah.
give him a little call.
Oh, I know, I know, I
He's
know.
probably watching this now. So
I would
Stan,
be
get on it.
incredibly happy to work with that person because I love working with other writers, especially when he would know exactly the same and correct tone. Because those shows today, you still watch it, they're hilarious.
Oh yeah,
They age perfectly. It's
yes.
exactly.
exactly the right tone that you want to create that kind of movie for. So yeah, get a hold of me. We'll do
Come
it.
on, Stan, jump on it. I'll give him a call. Um, and kind of in that vein, for the other things that you also do some incredible editing for a lot of other people's work. Talk about what it takes for you to take on a project. Like you said, you never say no. You're doing 12 projects at once. You also edit a lot of people's things. So what do you look for when you're editing someone else's work, and how does that differ from your own?
Well, I can give my perception, of course, and my point of view is going to end up being in that footage, of course. And I listen, of course, to the director very closely on what they're trying to do. But I do believe that they come to me to have my input and as I said, my point of view and the way I can stylize it and I can shape it. Yes, the movie I did about the book, Loving. I can't remember the name of the movie, the documentary at the time because my brain is dead. But that did really, really well. It won lots and lots of awards, and it's a beautiful documentary. It was, I mean, that was just amazing. You know the book Loving, about all the two guys who collected all these pictures from the mid 1800s to the mid 1900s, and then they all came to me. All these pictures, I'm saying, were thrown at me with the structure of them being interviewed by David Milburn. So there was that. And then I had to put them all together and create a story. And so it was an amazing. I was so excited to do that because these photographs are unbelievable. I fell in love with all these faces, and so I hope that came through if you watched the documentary because I fell in love with it. So I hoped the people would fall in love with it. The music that I chose, because I chose everything about all of that, the way it looked, the coloring, the tone, and of course the music, which is crucial when you're talking about pictures. And then David came in then he and I decided what picture would go in front of each picture. But I had it all in a clump, and I was like this, and then he'd go, oh, like let's do this with this around here, and that was part of his input as well as interviewing all the people. And but it was such an amazing and wonderful thing to do. I love editing, and I love. You know what I really love doing is something that's not great, but I can see the potential in it.
What is that?
Because it's amazing on what you can do with something. If I can see the potential in it, then I find it a wonderful challenge for me to take it and take these performances and shift them and make them good. And I get so tickled by that,
Yep.
because some of these smaller, low budget films or short, and they typically are shorts that come to me, and I look at it and I go, all right, I'll do it. And it was, I just finished one 2 weeks ago for a wonderful young actor. It was his first directorial debut and his first writing project. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And I'm so proud that I was able to take his piece and just bring it up, a few notches for him. And I remember sitting there with him watching it. And he was like, oh, he had no idea what I was going to do with it,
Wow.
because I made it so different than the way it was written necessarily. And that was exciting for me. And I love to be able to do that.
It's
It
awesome.
makes.
Well, Johnny, we got to start wrapping this up. What's your last question for Billy?
Oh my God! I have cards full of questions right here. So
Well,
um,
give them to me quick. Maybe I can
I
answer them
know
quickly.
your storytelling is inspiring to me. Your passion for it is crazy to me, and it makes me just want to go binge your work. But one of my favorite one of my favorite quotes about storytelling is if your voice held no power, they wouldn't try to silence you. So use your voice. And I feel like that's exactly what you did. Now, I know the people listening would be mad if we didn't say, what is the future of Lair? When is that something on the horizon for that people can start marking their calendars?
2024, January.
Oh, it's so, right around the corner.
No, I've got 6 episodes to get to.
Any man that can do all. I love that you said you love editing. It is my bane of my existence. So I love that you do it, because I always say a movie trailer, they should get Oscars, because sometimes an editor can make it look like the best movie you've ever seen. Then you watch it and you're like, what the hell was that?
Exactly.
It's a
and I like to do that to the movie. If they saw if you would put everything in the movie the way it was supposed to be, some of these things, you'd be like, oh, and it was just like, and talking about this last one that I did was, one person was not the best actor, and so he was a dear guy, very sweet, but some of the things that he did and said just didn't work. So I cut half of it out and then narrowed it to a few looks, and anything that was crucial, you don't see their face. So you look at the person having a reaction, and it completely diffuses anything that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So because you need some of the dialogue is important to make, to move the story forward. And then I would still cut back to them, but make sure that it was simple. But he would make a lot of faces. So I had to cut out all the faces,
See, now that's brilliance when it comes to this stuff. I have to tell you, for me, it's been an honor to get to talk to you. You're so much fun.
Oh, how sweet. How wonderful to get to know you, Jonny. And of course, how wonderful to see you as well, as usual. And
I love speaking to you. I could talk to you all day. We haven't even gotten to your pedigree of the Billy Clift family tree. We'll have to do another time on that and everything that's going on. And you're so busy, but you do get invited to all these film festivals, and I got to go see a couple of your films in Palm Springs when you're invited to things. I'd love to know who you think are up and coming directors and filmmakers. We'll save that for another time. Let everyone know where they can find you on your social media and websites and things like that.
Oh, it's all under Billy Clift. It's just my name. Pretty easy to find. I'm pretty much the only one. I do believe that there's like 4 others I noticed. One is young and one is old, but they're most likely related. If there's a Clift, I've always been told, then they're related to me in some way. It's not a popular name. It was never like one of those names that everybody named. So it's kind of cool. They're most likely some kind of relative, which is fascinating. But yeah, I'm easy to find.
Love it.
Well, guys, thanks for listening to Bears of a Certain Age. Jonny and I are here every Wednesday. We were so lucky to have Billy Clift as our special guest today. We'll be back with a regular episode next week, just us chatting away. And you can always drop us some messages. We like to hear about your bear hugs, people that have done something good for you. Let us know about anything like that at podcastbears@gmail.com. We'll see you next week, everyone. Billy, thank you, sir. Have a great day, everyone.
Loved being here with you guys. What a wonderful honor. Thank you.
Stay on the line for us, guys. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, guys. It's Scott from Bears of a Certain Age. Surplus is here, the new gay dating app exclusively for us mature men. Jonny and I are excited to have them as our premier community brand partner right here on Bears of a Certain Age. On the Surplus app, where older is always bolder, available now on both Apple and Android phones. We hope you'll join us where you can get the app so you can meet the man.
Bears got the best of me, said bears on my fantasy, said